Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Mellow Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Mellow Media.
Hello, my name is Chileshe. I'm a development practitioner with a particular focus on private sector development and more specifically entrepreneurship, and I work mostly in agribusiness. You're on Mellow Media Live, and we're going through a series of broadcasts on entrepreneurship, trying to understand this concept so that we can put it to good use in our own context. In previous broadcasts, we've defined what entrepreneurship is for practical purposes. We've said that entrepreneurship has to do with enhancing reality, the transformation that happens within an environment that creates a new reality which is better than the status quo. We also did say that entrepreneurship is not about business. Entrepreneurship is a separate concept that has to do with this transformational change. And this concept of entrepreneurship can be applied in different spheres of life. Yes, it can be applied to business, but it can be applied to politics, to religion, to science, and to anything else for that matter. Okay, we've emphasized that so that we can understand entrepreneurship, because it's only when you've understood what it looks like, what it really is, how to promote it, that you can now introduce it to business and say, okay, we can now make this entrepreneurship work for business. We can make this entrepreneurship work in another sphere, okay? I sometimes give this illustration that if you want to give examples of entrepreneurs, you find a lot of them that are not in business. I mean, one of the examples I give is our African mothers. Our African mothers are very entrepreneurial. And I'm not saying this because they run businesses per se. I'm saying this because they actually manage to enhance reality. I mean, they have raised us in very difficult circumstances sometimes, but here we are, against many odds, we have survived. We have become what we are today. And when you look back, you tend to appreciate them because there's a lot of mathematics, there's a lot of creativity that happens to just make things work just in the domestic environment. Okay, so that could be one example of an entrepreneur. I did give an example of Barack Obama, for instance, in the political space. That's another example of an entrepreneur. This is a person against a lot of odds, taking risk, marshalling different resources, seeing an opportunity. He transformed reality, not just in terms of being the first Black, non-white president, but he transformed reality even in our minds in terms of what we think is possible. He makes us believe that it is possible to achieve something, even if it looks unlikely, but as long as you can see your way through, as long as there are opportunities that have presented themselves, we can also, in a very careful and deliberate manner, also step in and see how we can enhance our own reality. Yes, we can, as Barack Obama would have put it. If you go to the religious environment, I mean, I can give an example that comes to mind. Billy Graham is probably somebody that everybody respects, okay? This is a gentleman. If you read his life story, you see how he started from one point and look at where he achieved in his lifetime, okay? He's passed on now, but he's left a legacy. Things are done differently now because of what Billy Graham was able to achieve. Apart from him achieving his own objectives of preaching and sharing the Christian gospel, okay, which he managed to do to millions of people, probably hundreds of millions. He also influenced how evangelism is done in the Christian environment. So for his particular purpose, he achieved what he had wanted to achieve. It's important to realize that entrepreneurship has to do with enhancing reality, but it is embodied in a human being as the agent, as the instrument of entrepreneurship. So that individual must encapsulate entrepreneurship so that it can manifest in their environment because of their deliberate actions as they pursue that which they think is a better reality. Okay, so entrepreneurship manifests in the environment, but then it must reside in the individual. It must be developed in the individual, and then it will manifest in the environment. Okay, so we pay particular attention to individuals and how we can develop them to become more entrepreneurial if we want to see a more entrepreneurial society and if we want to reap the benefits of entrepreneurship. While we emphasize that entrepreneurship is not about running a business, in fact, it is not about business. All the definitions I've put forward in our previous broadcasts have had nothing to do with business. We do not mention anything to do with business in defining entrepreneurship because it is a separate phenomenon that is not necessarily connected to business. Once we understand it, then we can apply it to business. We can influence it, okay? We can know how to make good use of it and in what form to apply it to business. Once you understand the medicine, then you know how to use it in a particular ailment. Is it a severe case? Then you know how to prescribe the dosage. Is it a minor case? Then you know again. Is it prevention? You know how to work with it. But you must know what the capabilities of that medicine is. You must understand it, its constituent elements, so that you can utilize it appropriately depending on the different situations, okay? We will later be taking case studies of how we can better understand entrepreneurship. But for today, I would like us to refer to a particular diagram. I'll go to my slides and first start with defining an entrepreneur and saying this is the person who destroys the existing order by introducing newness. This is not original to me, but this is how an entrepreneur has been described, bearing in mind what we have said entrepreneurship is. And we're not mentioning business here, okay? A person who destroys the existing order by introducing newness. This newness can be in different spheres. The entrepreneurship process starts with an entrepreneurial mind. Remember, it resides in the person. And this mind conceptually envisions a new reality, okay? And then starts to concretely enact it through committing other actors, and I would add resources to the process. So a key agent of entrepreneurship is the person. That's the principal driver, and so entrepreneurship must reside in them to manifest in our environment. So then we are saying being entrepreneurial involves a state of mind, okay? And it also involves particular behavior that combines with the environmental circumstances. I've raised three things, and I'm being very deliberate so that we can practically develop entrepreneurship in our context. There is a state of mind, so we must influence the mind. It must lead to particular behavior. There are some things we must see, and we can talk about them later and say, we want to see this kind of thing, and the other, okay? So that it's very tangible and practical. It's not theory. Number three, there must be certain environmental circumstances. Opportunities are in the environment. Challenges that inhibit entrepreneurship are in the environment. So again, we'll talk about some of the things that must exist in the environment and some of the things that must be discouraged, okay? When we talk about policy, government policy, we are really referring to number three here, where we're saying there must be a conducive environment, okay? So part of this environmental situation that must exist is of a policy nature. Some of it is not. Some of it is social. Some of it is cultural. Our belief system can enable entrepreneurship or it can inhibit entrepreneurship. It's part of the environmental circumstances. Okay, we'll go into greater detail later on this, but I want us to just keep them in mind. Here's a diagram that I want us to spend a few moments on. Okay, there's nothing complicated about this. If you just take a deep breath, look at it, you see that everything is familiar. If you go to the extreme right, you see a box that says behavior. So behavior is the end point. Remember, we said entrepreneurship must involve particular behavior. They must be doing certain things that are entrepreneurial and bringing benefit. Okay, something must be done. Okay, but for that thing to happen, if you notice the box immediately before that, it says intention. There must have been a decision to want to do something. So there must be intention to want to do that. If you look at the box before that, it says conviction. There must be a resolve in a person's mind to say this is possible, that it's from that the person can formulate intention. If this is possible, therefore I can do this. Okay, so conviction leads to intention. Then from conviction, if you go left again, the immediate box before that, there's something about the attitude, the state of mind. Okay, and here we talk about different things about attitude. Okay, our attitude has to do with a mental frame. Okay, I won't go into psychological concepts here. I'll keep it simple by just saying the mental frame, the way we process things, because that influences the kind of convictions that can come out, the kind of intentions, and therefore the behavior. Okay, the state of the mind is important. But again, if you go left further, you find that there is background, which influences even the state of mind. Okay. Notice I started from behavior and worked backwards. Okay. Yes, what we see at the end of the day is influenced by things before that. So yes, background influences attitude, which influences conviction, which leads to particular intentions, and so we see certain behavior. Okay. But then when we're examining behavior, we must drill down back and say this behavior is informed by intention, which is informed by conviction, which is based on a particular state of mind, attitude, and which has to do a lot with the background. Okay. There's another box down there which says current circumstances. We recognize that the current circumstances, as I had said in a previous slide, the circumstances, environmental circumstances, influence convictions, intentions, and behavior. So depending on where the person is at that particular point in time, what would have been good convictions can be impaired, negatively affected, intentions can be impaired, and behavior can be affected. And sometimes we say their behavior is not like them, because based on their convictions and intentions, the behavior seems to be inconsistent. Well, it could be because of the pressures of the current circumstances. Okay. So I've just explained the whole diagram. Now, if this is a very simple diagram by Parr Davidson. Now, this helps us manage entrepreneurship or influence entrepreneurs. Because if we want a particular type of behavior, then we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start addressing background issues. There are cultural issues that affect how people aspire for great things. Okay. You know, there are gender issues that come in because of our culture. There are issues of financial circumstances, levels of education, and all sorts of other things that can form the background. Okay. That may influence the way a person sees the world, processes things. Okay. So if we want to develop entrepreneurs, then we're saying that we must deal with all those boxes. Okay. So can you see how clear it is to actually develop entrepreneurs? Because we have the elements that we can work with. If we want to inform a particular behavior that we think is good in the entrepreneurship environment, then let's look at issues of background. Let's look at mindset issues and influence that. Let's see how we can influence convictions in terms of belief in what is possible. Let's influence intentions. Okay, help people formulate clear intentions. And sometimes when I'm working on a business plan with my clients, these are things that I'm saying because a business plan captures intentions. Okay, so I'm influencing, guiding them through a process where they can formulate specific intentions, which will lead to a particular behavior because they'll be referring to their business plan as they do what they want to do in their business. So their business behavior is being influenced by intentions as captured in a business plan. Okay. Now, when you talk about circumstances, remember there was that box that referred to circumstances. Sometimes access to information, access to finance, and certain regulations that exist may actually be enabling or impeding entrepreneurship. So again, we address those issues. We say, what are the circumstantial issues that are affecting entrepreneurship? And so we go into them one by one, we identify them, and we develop strategies around how we deal with them. So just using Per Davidson's diagram, we can formulate strategies around how we can develop entrepreneurship in a particular context, such as a country. Okay. That's how clear it can be. It's based on knowledge. It's based on research. So we are not shooting in the air. This is not trial and error. We have established the key elements that affect how a person will behave in as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. So we go into dealing with those issues so that we can achieve a particular behavior. So instead of focusing on the actual behavior, we focus on the things that influence behavior. And if we've done a good job there, then the behavior will happen as a matter of course. It will be the natural thing to emerge because we've addressed the things that encourage entrepreneurship and try to address the things that inhibit entrepreneurship. And that is how I would recommend that a country's strategy for entrepreneurship needs to be formulated. It needs to examine those issues that affect entrepreneurship behavior based on science, based on research, based on knowledge, because then you can be confident that a few months or years in future, as long as you've addressed these things that have been identified, the different boxes for a particular context, you will see more entrepreneurs and the benefit of entrepreneurship. I hope this has been useful, and I hope it has been food for thought as we engage in debates around how we can promote entrepreneurship. This is Christian Chileshe, and I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday at 17 hours as we continue to explore this issue of entrepreneurship, drawing on knowledge, but being as practical as we can. See you soon.
Thank you for watching. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Mellow Media.